Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Michael Hartley with Action Coach. What needs to pivot in my business, kickstart your day, get you refocused, because business is changing daily right now. I am Dr. Michael Hartley. I'm a non-medical type of doctor. I operate on business, and today we're operating on yours. You see, it is time to sprint. Our businesses, our life, our cities, our states, our country, it's all opening back up. And so it's time to really start to sprint. And that path forward is extremely important. And when we look at that, we really start to understand that from chaos to control, it always starts with our mindset. And when we look at mindset, we want to understand how we actually change, what causes change in our life. And it's a simple formula. The formula for change is D times V plus F is greater than R. If anything on the left side of that formula is less than the right side, change does not take place. What does it actually stand for? It stands for dissatisfaction multiplied by vision plus first steps must be greater than the resistance to change. So where is your level of dissatisfaction for where you're at right now? Scale of 1 to 10. Where's your level of clarity on vision of where you're going? Scale 1 to 10. What's the very first step you must do consistently? Have you identified it? Are you consistently doing it? You see, that entire side of the formula must be greater than the resistance to change. Otherwise, change doesn't take place. You see, if anything on the left is a 0, it doesn't matter what the rest of it is. If we don't have a high dissatisfaction for our current state, if we don't have a large clarity on where we're going, if we don't understand the very first thing we must do, change doesn't take place. Now, interestingly enough, this applies to your marketing. This applies to your business when you have a team. This applies to your family. You see, the formula for change is for everybody in all aspects of life. So when you think about your marketing, are you increasing somebody's dissatisfaction for current state? Are you increasing their level of vision with what life can be after leveraging or using your product or service? And are you offering them a very simple first step? The formula for change is one of the most effective formulas that you can apply to your life, to you, to your business, ultimately to your friends, family, clients, customers, subscribers, guests, patients. So the formula for change. Write this down right now. D times V plus F greater than R. Dissatisfaction multiplied by vision plus first steps greater than resistance to change. Put it on your wall, put it on your notepad, put it on your computer, put it on your phone, put it in a reminder so that way you understand when you are focused on you and your business, where are you at in each of these critical areas, and have you elevated them to the point that they need to be to actually change. We don't like change. Most people don't like change, especially employees, people on the team don't like change. And so we must work through the formula for change in an effort to do it effectively. Formula for change, step 1 when it comes to your mindset. Now, what makes people change? We just walked through that. Ultimately, emotions. Emotions are energy in motion. And so, as it says here, it's vital. We must become masters of emotion for ours, for the well-being of others, to make change, ultimately to grow the business. Because if we're not good, nothing else will be. So we got to make sure we are understanding our emotions, and then we can understand how we are engaging others in their emotions. You see, 80% of every decision is made emotionally. 20% of it is backed by logic. And so we must understand how our emotions are, how their emotions are. Was working with an individual yesterday and started the call and realized instantly something was going on. And so once we got past the very beginning portions of the stuff, I just asked, I was like, hey, what's going on? Seem a little off today. And the individual responded, you know what? I'm dealing with my office situation. The place that I pay for my office is not playing ball very well right now. And they were making some really honestly bad decisions. Not the individual, but the actual office space. And I was like, okay, let's talk through that real quick. And within 2 minutes, emotions were way different. We were thinking more clearly. So where are your emotions at today? Where are your customers and clients' emotions at today? Where's your team's emotions at today? You see, that is how we start the momentum for change. Then we go back to the formula, dissatisfaction, vision. Both of those are extremely emotional. Your dissatisfaction for something, if something happens in your life, how emotional are you about it? It hits your emotions. When you're super happy about something, the vision of what we want to be, how emotional is that? Think about sports. When someone scores, how much emotion comes out just from someone scoring in a dumb sport. And look, I love sports. At the end of the day, they are entertainment, though, for most. So understand where your emotions are at and then where the other individual's emotions are at. Why do people stay where they're at? Fear. False expectations appearing real. You see, there's really no monster in that closet. And interestingly enough, danger is a real thing in life. That is a legitimate thing that we must be understanding of. Fear is something we make up, just like perfection is something we make up. Fear is something that happens in our mind. It's something that we're like, well, you know what if, or I'm fearful of. It's so interesting because you have fear that happens all over. You have fear of failure, as an example, which, by the way, is again, it's just made up in your head. And if you guess what, if you do something wrong, learn from it, move forward, make a better decision the next time. That's okay. That's part of learning. There's the opposite side of fear, which is interesting too, which is the fear of actually succeeding, which we see in a lot of our clients, which is the what if this all goes exactly as I want it to? What if we grow too fast? It's this fear of actually succeeding in what you want. It's fascinating. Fear is the false expectations appearing real. How do we get out of a fear mindset? How do we get out of a negative mindset? How do we get into an abundance mindset, out of a scarcity mindset into abundance? False expectations appearing real. There's really no monster in that closet. So it's just about going, I'm going to tackle this thing head on. I'm going to go this direction because I know when I do, I'm getting myself 1% closer to my ultimate destination, that vision of what I want. You may also need to apply this to your marketing to help your customers understand this, that fear is something that they've made up. And how do you address that with your product or service? How do you actually do that? So reduce it, remove it, identify it so that way you can move past it. Ultimately, we are built from our environment. Again, when we're talking about change, we start with the change formula, then we look at emotions, then we look at fear. Now we look at how we are actually built and structured. And you see above the waterline, just like an iceberg. We call this the identity iceberg because a lot of individuals, they allow themselves to live below the point and become a victim of their environment, which they allow their environment to push them around, to shape them. We want you to do the opposite. We want you to shape your environment, the people you surround yourself with, the things that you allow into your ears and your eyes every single day, the things that you're learning to suit you, not put you into the environment. We want you to dictate and choose the environment that you are in because the environment you are in leads to all these intrinsic stuff, your identity. It is if I walk up to someone and I say, please change your behavior, please change or shift your actions, make different decisions. How quickly can they do that? In a heartbeat, right? They can, okay, yeah, right. Okay, let me shift my actions. I'm gonna go from here to here. Great. Instead of walking, I'm gonna run. Instead of running, I'm gonna walk. Instead of sitting, I'm gonna stand. Right? Taking action. Super simple. If I walk up to you and I'm like, you know, I think we need to change your identity today. A little bit different. You know what? I think we need to completely shift how you believe in things, what you value in life. And that's not something that you just change in a moment. It's something that is built. And can it shift and change? It can. The key is, if it needs to, and it may not need to, if it does, we must focus on the deepest level, which is the environment that we are in, our routine every single day, what we tell ourselves every single day, the things that we put ourselves into is that environment. We must choose the environment we want to be in. So start choosing yours. Again, that's what helps us shift your mindset, who you are. Ultimately, how we change to become the person we need to become. to ultimately see the vision that we desire. Where we are at today, when it comes to where the country and our state and our cities are at, we are no longer in the pivot mode. We are now in the prepare to sprint phase. So take everything that we just talked through on mindset and start applying it to you and your business so you are prepared for the sprint forward. What are those shifts that need to take place so that way you and your business are prepared for that sprint ahead? At the end of the day, it's time to do it. There are 4 levels of learning in this process. And so identifying kind of where you're at is really good, because when you do it right, you will consistently go through the cycle. You see, those who plateau in life stop at a certain level. Those who excel in life consistently cycle right through it. So where do we start? Unconscious incompetence. This is when you are a 5-year-old and you see a car and you're like, I think that would be fun to drive. You are unconsciously incompetent. You have no idea what you would even do to try to drive a vehicle or to even ride a bike at that moment. You are unconsciously incompetent. And so when we walk into business for the very first time, candidly, we're unconsciously incompetent. We don't know what we don't know. We don't know what to do. We are just starting this thing out. When we hit, if you hadn't been through the 2007, 2008 cycle of business, and you were walking into this one, you may have been in that stage of going, I'm unconsciously incompetent. I'm not sure what needs to change right now. Then we get to the conscious incompetence. This is where you're 12, 13 years old. You could sit behind the wheel of a car and you would understand what you don't know. You are consciously incompetent to drive yet. You haven't gone through, driver's ed or been taught by a parent yet, those kind of things. So if you've been working with us, we've helped you understand what maybe you didn't know to get you ultimately to the conscious competence. Now I am aware and I am competent to do a specific action. Now I must have a trigger every single day to remind me to do it, a reminder on my phone, a calendar, whatever that may be, a piece of paper that I'm following my action list daily, whatever those things are. I must have a trigger to help keep me in this routine because I'm building it right now to ultimately get to the unconscious competence. This is where you can drive from your home to wherever, grocery store, whatever, that you consistently go to, friend's house, family, and you don't have to pay attention anymore. You don't have to be like, oh, which road am I supposed to turn down? Because you no longer need the instruction set. You no longer need the directions. That is where we want you all to be when it comes to specific areas of your life and your business, because once you get there and you've mastered that specific step, then we go, okay, well, guess what? Now we go into the next step and we go right back down into, and then you get to the unconscious incompetence, which is really what I was talking about, which is that top level where you can just drive wherever you want to go and you don't need the instruction set. Unconscious competence is where I don't have to need the instruction set. I don't need to know how to drive. I can do it. I'm competent. And then the unconscious incompetence is now where we start back over and we go, all right, how do we start learning the next step of what we're doing? Emotions take place, going back to emotions a minute ago. Emotions take place when you go from conscious incompetence to conscious competence. Change is taking place. And that's why we want you to focus on it, is to go, okay, how do I get from one rung to the next? Where am I at on mastery level of business? Where am I at on niche, step 2 of building a business? Where am I at in these areas to be prepared for the sprint ahead? Ultimately, we want you to move all the way up so that way we can get you right back into unconscious incompetence, to where we go, okay, now it's time for the next step of business, the next phase of business for you to be prepared with. That's the cycle. And again, those that plateau get to the conscious competence, maybe the unconscious competence, and then they just stop. And they go, well, life is good. I'm happy. I'm plateauing. And if that's where you want to be, then understand that and accept it. If your goal is to move forward, keep building, build not just level 1 and level 2 goals. Level 3 goals are legacy goals, what we leave behind. When you focus on level 3 goals in life, level 1 is the run away from stuff, right? I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be stressed. Level 2 is what I'm running towards, right? I want to have a strong foundation. I want to be able to take care of those that are around me. Level 3 is what I leave behind for others. When your focus is legacy goals, you're able to consistently cycle through this because you are constantly focused on learning and growing, which is really, really important. So, why do people stay where they're at? Self-sabotage is the easiest way I can say this. A simple example. We put a job ad out. Well, technically, my mentor did. And job position, going out there. Put it out there for $250,000 for the base salary for 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, put the exact same job ad out and changed it to a $50,000 salary. We had 10 times more applicants for the 50,000 instead of the 250,000 because we self-sabotage. People don't believe that they're worth what they're worth, and so we had a 10x increase in applicants when it was changed to the $50,000 ad instead of the $250,000 ad. It's fascinating. Stop self-sabotaging yourself. Internalize that and go, how in my life, where in my life, in my day, am I self-sabotaging? And how do I need to address it? Then go back into the entire episode today of going formula for change, shifting emotions, shifting environment. It all starts to work together. Then you go into the 4 levels of learning and you go, okay, where am I at right now in this specific spot? Unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, unconscious competence. Where am I at? What do I need to learn to then get me to the next step? At the end of the day, determine what your after looks like. It's time to sprint. It's time to be prepared for the path forward for our businesses. Work harder on yourself than you do your job. Yesterday, I gave you the first segment of this overall quote that we like to do. This is part 2. The first part again was, don't wish life were easier, wish that you were better. Work harder on yourself, myself, than I do my job, than you do your job. Jim Rohn. If you need a place to get connected, connect with us. We will give you a couple complimentary weeks of our Action Network. It's a virtual networking group that we add value to you every single week, guaranteed. It's actually pretty phenomenal. We ask for reviews every single week so we can understand where people are finding value. And on a scale of 1 to 10 is kind of how we ask. And we get 9s and 10s every single week because of how we do it. We do it differently. And so you got to come check it out. It's pretty phenomenal. Start taking the lessons from today and internalize them and then put them into your business and into your marketing. I'm Dr. Michael Hartley. I'm here to elevate your business and enhance your lifestyle. Start focusing on where you specifically need to change today and then take action.